Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC comic review, and in this DC comic review I'll be reviewing Tamaki in Detective Comics, The Shadow of the Bat Run, and last but not least, Titans United issue 6 of 7. I must admit, both of these have been pretty darn good. Sure, they have their highs and lows in it, but it's going to be interesting to see, well, when some of these things do come to an end, such as Titans United, which is going to end up finishing next month. And last but not least, we still have Shadows of the Bat continuing until that series ends. So, time to make a start, to jump into the first comic that will be reviewed. So, jumping into first things first, let's do the cover rating. Now, as you can see here, I've got two separate covers. One is a 1.25 variant, which I chose. And I really like the cover because it's got Robin in it. And as you can see, it's actually Dick Grayson in that picture. And last but not least, we've got the main cover. So, the ratings for both of them, and do any of them connect to something that's inside of the story? The first one does. The second one, even though it might not, it's still got a pretty reasonable rating. So for the first one, it actually got a 6 out of 10. That's right, a 6 out of 10. Moving to the second cover, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now, because I'm going to be showing you the next thing, which is the internal art, to which I'll have to use the main one for, to show the internal art. I will not be covering the backstory in this, though the backstory in this is actually quite interesting. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'm just going to be reviewing the main story here. So let's make a start on looking at the internal art around the beginning, middle, and of course the end. Now this is some of the art around the beginning. And this is some of the art around the middle, as we've got the character of Psycho Pirate and one of the doctors that are there. And last but not least, some of the art towards the end, which we see some of the members of the Bat family. So for the internal art in this, I actually enjoyed it, that I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump into the area of the story, to which those who follow the channel know that I like to see certain things brought up, or at least certain things shown, that will in essence connect to continuity, when things are taking place in the story, locations, and of course the cast of characters. So starting off with first things first, references. Were there any comic references to any of the previous issues which might be important to the story? No, there wasn't. So does it really affect the story rating? Not all that much. Moving on to the next thing, time. The things that showed up in regards time-wise, we had a long time ago. And then we were brought forward to day 19 around the investigation of the things that are happening around the Arkham Tower. We also had some times that were brought up to us, 11:15, 11:30, and of course moving into 12 PM midday. I really enjoyed it. This is actually being brought into the story because it shows that there are things happening around certain times that we might need to pay attention to, even as a reader, because there might be something that shows up in a scene which might be important, especially if we're trying to work out how things might turn out in the end game. Of course, moving into the location, we had Gotham City, we had the Party Crasher HQ, And last but not least, the Batcave. The cast of characters consisting of Dr. Meridian, Batman, Psycho Pirate, other members of the Bat family such as Batwoman, Spoiler, Cassandra Cain, Dick Grayson, and for the overall story rating of a 7 out of 10. It's now time to move to the next issue that will be reviewed. Alright, now it's time to move into the Titans United issue 6 review. And starting off with first things first, in regards to the cover, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to anything that's happening inside of the story? You bloody bet it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now, it's now time to go into the internal, or the city internal art, as well as things that are happening in relation to the story. We'll look at the beginning, middle and the end, and I'll give the rating for that. As we jump to the beginning of the story, we can see Starfire here. She's been a little bit beaten down by her sister, and as you can see here, we are in the United Kingdom at Morton Manor. Now, as we jump towards the middle of the story, of course, we've got the member of the Titans trying to help free Connor Kent, who's also been called Black Zero at this time because he's been mind controlled. By Starfire's sister. And last but not least, we get a bit of a fight between the sisters. The Titans team finally gathers together. And will Connor Kent finally break out of the control? For the internal art of this, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump to the story, or the story rating. And jumping into first things first, were there any references to any of the previous comics? No, but it probably wouldn't have hurt to include one or two. Time as to when some of the things took place? None of that at all. But what we did get was the locations: Morton Manor in the UK on Earth, and of course Blackfire's ship. The cast of characters consisting of Starfire, Blackfire, Nightwing, Beast Boy, Red Hood, Connor Kent, who is also Black Zero at the moment, Raven, of course Donna Troy, and there's one more I'm missing there because of my bad and terrible writing, but I'm not afraid to say it. Overall, I give this story a 7 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.